I think that no one's arguing that it's good to be careful with your star, and you want to do right by him because he hasn't signed his contract yet. If I've got any nitpick about this process, I think it would be that it all seemed very preordained, very scheduled, kind of beyond the typical timeline, and not necessarily reacting to his recovery. Like, thinking back to the quotes that O'Connell had. Like, O'Connell got asked right away, do you see him coming back before the bye? And O'Connell kind of hemmed and hawed and gave an O'Connell answer, a non-answer, which made you think, well, maybe they are holding him through the bye, and not really responding to kind of what he was showing on the field or giving him a chance to have a full practice. Does anyone have any, and again, this isn't the end of the world to give.
I want to press that a little bit. And what exactly are you saying here? Are you saying that the Vikings said, we are going to keep Justin Jefferson out for 7 weeks, even if he's 100% healthy? Are you saying that Justin Jefferson could have played in this game and they're keeping him out instead?
I'm saying that
that's a break of the rules. That's
not if he doesn't practice and you submit your medical documentation to the league.
Wait, you don't think that
so we're frauding this?
Yeah. What? Sorry, is that bad?
That's pretty conspiratorial to me.
It is.
Can we not just say that they played it by ear and then they said they were always very clear that it needed to be 100%. Like both.
Okay.
Your
track record, Luke, is that you are the guy that believed that TJ Hawkinson had an ear infection.
I was going to bring up Hawkinson's ear.
Get that out there.
Yeah, that's
ear
right.
infection.
That's right.
It was a bad ear infection, and it affects your balance, Sam. All right, let me jump in real quick. Yeah. I do want to add that if you did not want to play it by ear, if you wanted to have a preset schedule, regardless of what the actual recovery timetable turns out to be, you can always justify it by arguing that a player is not 100%, because no player is ever at 100% once the season starts. So you will always have, in the same way that somebody like TJ Hawkinson may always find some method of injury, you will always find some way to argue that a player is not ready to play if you don't want that player to play. Now, to what extent this conspiracy exists, I don't know. Like, I would argue that the Vikings do want Jefferson on the field because they are in the middle of a wild card race, and I would argue they probably would have beaten the Broncos if they had Justin Jefferson, and I think that they know that. So I think that the best we can argue is that the Vikings felt, right, if we wanted to engage this conspiracy angle, that the Vikings felt that getting to the bye was the best possible way to manage this injury long-term, to have Jefferson long-term, regardless of how he feels. And I don't know if I 100% buy that, just because there are tight timelines in the NFL. There's a lot of pressure to play quickly, even with your stars. And I think that while it is probable to me that they had a timeline that they wanted to map out when the injury happened, and that it seemed like they are following that map, I think that if Jefferson were close to what we would call 100%, at least in football terms, he would be playing tonight. Like, I don't think it is as rigid and structured as you're suggesting, Sam, although I do sympathize with it.
There's a couple things. For one, there's a Tom Pelissero tweet about this. As he's reporting about we're recording this like 20 minutes after it got announced that he's not playing. But it says, while he's noted he's heard from, quote, fans upset over his 7-game absence, this is an example of how the Vikings do things. Good process and communication. Jefferson has been all in on the plan. I think that's an important thing to note, that Jefferson is like on board with this. And he'll come back ready to roll for the stretch run, expected to be back all the way. I as I'm thinking about the timeline, you take him off of IR 3 weeks before your bye to get that sort of like sneaky extra week. But I don't I guess I want to hear Sam say this. If Justin Jefferson were 100%, his hamstring were 100%, which is important. If you rush back from a hamstring, there's like those are particularly at risk for re-aggravation. That's kind of how hamstrings work. They will re-aggravate if you try to go back early. So if he were not at risk of re-aggravation, we'll say that's our definition for 100%, right? No longer at risk for re-aggravation, that they would hold him out anyways. I want to hear you say that you believe that. And I also want you to tell me why.
Yeah, I believe that the bye was always going to be the play.
Even if he's 100, even if he's totally fine, he goes, I don't feel anything. I'm good to go. I can play.
They haven't even given him. They haven't given him a chance to be 100%. They never.
He practices every day.
No, he's limited. You know what limited means? You know what limited means? Limited can't.
It's not DNP.
No, limited means that he probably went through individuals.
Yeah, it usually just means individuals and walkthroughs.
Yeah, is that not practicing?
That is not the same practice at all, in the sense that
did I say full? No, I
it
said
does not give them a chance to see whether he can compete at game speed.
The gulf between limited and full is actually fairly enormous. I think it's fair for Sam to point out.
If you've ever gone to training camp and watched the 11:30 session versus the 3 o'clock session,
no, but there's a pretty significant.
So you don't think they're trying at all? They're like, JJ, yeah, you can just go catch a couple balls and go inside. We're not going to see if your hamstring's good yet. You think they're doing that? Name your source. I'm sorry, that's insane.
Sam, I just they want to win games and they don't have a lot of latitude. That's kind of where I like. It does very much feel like the Vikings had a schedule in mind and are sticking to that schedule, but I do not believe that they are sticking to that schedule regardless, right? Like I don't think like
there's an injury rehab timeline. That's a thing. Yeah, where you go, we think this will probably take 7 weeks. And if you take him off of IR, 3 weeks before the bye, you get an extra week, and that'll probably work. Like that feels like a reasonable plan to me. But they need you are accusing them of something a lot more nefarious. And I want you to be.
It's not. I'm not. I never even said it was nefarious. I just think that that was my one.
Basically saying they're lying about injuries.
No, I'm saying
that's what I get.
In order,
he's saying that they're not even giving themselves the latitude to lie about the injury. They're not even giving themselves an opening.
True, that's
to
worse.
Learn.
They have every right to do this if they want to protect their asset. I'm asking you guys whether you have a problem with preordaining a return date, regardless of whether the player is good to go or not, or even giving him a chance to be good to go.
I don't think the fact that he has been limited in practice means that they haven't given him a chance to go, because I think that there are check-ins that you do with your athletic trainer, right? In terms of how your hamstring fires, how you perform in underwater rehab and stuff like that allow you to get a good sense of where the hamstring is without having to practice. I don't think that is the extent to which you say, hey, they haven't been giving him a chance. So I'll say that, right? Say, I'm very sympathetic to your view, Sam, but the Vikings they want to win games and they don't have a lot of latitude. If they were 13-1, different, right? Or no one's at 13-1, but you know what I mean. If they had one loss, that'd be different, right? But they are at the bottom of the wild card hunt right now, and some weird teams are creeping up behind them.
Right.
We'll talk about those weird teams.
I still want to answer this. If Justin Jefferson is at any risk of re-injury, holding him out is what they will do, and they're being super cautious. Maybe we can say, they're being too cautious or whatever. I wouldn't agree with that, but maybe that would be the texture of the conversation. But my question is, if he is not at further risk of re-injury, what would the advantage be to holding him out more?
No, I think, Luke, that's the crux of this issue. Is that
why would they do
this?
That?
It is, and this is why I don't think I'm insinuating it's super nefarious, because they've decided that the nature of the injury, even if you seem 100%, we are going to be overly cautious. We are going to give him more time than necessary because of the nature of the injury, regardless of what traditional timelines might be. That's what I think the Vikings are doing. And
I've never ever heard anyone in the Vikings organization use the word Bayesian before. So I'm sure that's absolutely how they would operate.
Yeah, I need like a little bug in the corner to remind me the definition of Bayesian. But
it's a big Kwesi thing about
huge
updating your actions based on like as information rolls in, you like update all your equations. It's
you have a certain
core to the philosophy of the GM.
Right, so you have a certain probability of a thing happening given what you know, and then you update that probability that you're projecting based on the information that comes in, or updating your priors.
So what I'm suggesting is anti-Bayesian, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Kwesi would be very mad at it. Yes.
Kwesian, perhaps, is the new verbiage.
Perfect.
Oh, actually, yeah. I hate
that. Got a lot more heated than I thought it would. I didn't think I was going to open this can of worms. And I'm not the
people
guy
who's insane about JJ. I'm just pissed about it. Like, people are DMing him saying you need to be on my fantasy team. People are going crazy. It's
that's stupid. That's stupid.
You're just a little too insane about JJ. Like, he's a football player. People just need to calm down a little bit.
He's fine, and I'm not upset with the team. I think that they had a plan, and this was going to be the plan. And if you look back at all the quotes week to week, O'Connell has been so non-committal about this thing. Why would you be committal about a hamstring? But if you look at the way he speaks about other players, he speaks with a lot more confidence when he knows they're going to be like.
Do they have what injured players? What injured players has he been confident about a timeline for?
O'Connell has been overly optimistic about a lot of guys, and he never was with Jefferson because I think he knew all along that it was going to be the bye.
Chris Reed, he was like, he'll be back shortly.
Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
Ryan Esmo.
Although I think he might have just.
And I think
I don't know that he was overly optimistic on Kene Nwangwu. I think we were all given a reasonable, but I will say, like, if your team doctor tells you, hey, I think this guy might be out for basically half the season, he'll be able to get back from practice after 5 weeks, but he'll be out for basically half the season, and he goes in front of the media, and the media is like, hey man, how long is this going to take? It's going to take some time. I think it's fair. That's totally fair.
I feel like every time you hear an answer that's like, we don't know, like, is he going to play? Yeah, we don't know. And then I feel like we're way too inclined to be like, oh, he secretly knows. Like, what if he just didn't know? He knows, and he knew the whole time, and it's like, well, or maybe it's just
that's not fun,
a finicky deal.
That's not
like, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't. Maybe they just are kind of taking it day by day, and it could take 3 weeks, could take one.
No coach has yet mastered how to talk about injuries. Mike Zimmer was horrible at it.
Because we're always insane about it.
I think KOC's been bad at it. No one has found consistency or.
I feel like KOC's been pretty upfront and transparent.
Is this maybe?
Yep.
If no one is good at it, is this maybe a skill we're judging incorrectly?
Yes, it definitely
is. Because we read so far into people's words all the time that we come out with whatever conclusion we wanted before. That's the way pressures always work.
The whole franchise is still haunted by the way we reacted to the tweak stuff, which admittedly Mike Zimmer handled spectacularly poorly.
Yeah, but see, this is where I'm jaded because I covered literally the entirety of the Mike Zimmer era. So I had him lie to my and the media congregation's face dozens of times. There's a natural skepticism that comes with injury talk.
Yeah,
I'm callous
welcome to
by it.
Covering the NFL, Sam.
I'm not, but Luke Braun wants to, believe it all chapter and verse. And I'm saying, no, you can't do that.
Luke trusts players. That's his biggest fault. I am like,
I'll take that.
Like I'm like, that doesn't bother me that much. There's a lot of things I hate about Luke Braun. That's probably not one of them.
God, I got Arif going to bat for me. This has gone off the rails.
Wow. I'm playing the Ron Johnson role. I'm going after Braun here.
I think here's what I'm not saying that you should believe everything that they say about injuries. I'm pretty sure that Kevin O'Connell just lied about Chris Reed. And that's he's well within his rights to do that.
Do you think
it's okay to say we don't know?
Do you think he lied about Jalen Naylor or was just misinformed?
I don't remember what he said about Jalen Naylor. I also don't care.
We were very much given the understanding he'd be back within like a couple of days every time someone asked.
Yeah.
I don't have the receipts. I feel like this was a trend last year too.
Yeah, maybe he lies to us about injuries. It's okay.
We also don't give him credit
to say we don't know until we know. I think we always want to come up with the answer as early as possible, and it's a really easy way to be wrong.
Yep,
I just want to be able to say we'll see, and not have people go insane trying to like theorize about how it's a conspiracy.
I will say we tend to forget the moments where he says that guy will be back shortly, and then that guy is back shortly, because they happen. They don't stick in our minds because they're not important, right? Like when Christian Darrisaw misses a couple of days, or when Brian O'Neill misses a couple of days, or when Daniil Hunter misses a couple of days. Oh, yeah, he'll be back shortly. And we're like, all right, cool. You say that about everybody. And then Christian Darrisaw comes back and we're like, well, he's back, just like O'Connell said, so no one's surprised. And it's like, we don't really, like, he's not earning credit for those.
Sure.
We're just like, hey, remember what you said about Chris Reed, a guy we super care about? Like, it's a tough racket, man.